2025 special meeting of the City Commission will come to order. The clerk will give the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for our former City Commissioner Kelly Snyder, who passed away this morning. Please rise. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Coakley.
Here.
Bernie Obershaw. Tenney.
Here.
DeWitt.
Present.
Rumberg.
Here.
Charlebois. Morris.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
Present. Is there a motion to excuse? I know we heard from Commissioner Bernie Obershaw that she wouldn't be here. I don't know. I hadn't heard from Commissioner Charlebois. Commissioner Coakley?
I'd like to excuse Commissioner Charlevoix.
Okay. Is there a second? Commissioner DeWitt?
I'd also like to excuse Commissioner Bernie Obershaw.
Okay. Yep. Yes.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any objection to being excused? Seeing none, the commissioners are excused. Today's special meeting is for the selection of the First Ward City Commission and doing the interviews and then voting tonight on the appointment. So first up is Craig McMorris. And so what we're going to do, there are instructions. So thank you for being here tonight for the First Ward City Commission interviews. We're excited to hear from each of the candidates who've stepped up to serve our community in Bay City. There's 9 interviews lined up this evening with 15 minutes set aside for each candidate. There's 10 questions, and to help stay on schedule, we kindly ask each candidate to keep their answers to 2 to 3 minutes. So we'll do a rotation of the questions, starting with Commissioner Coakley, and then we'll kind of move forward as we go along. So we'll turn over to Commissioner Coakley for the first question.
Afternoon. What inspired you to run for the seat on the Bay City Commission? What inspired you to run for the seat in Bay City Commission for the First Ward?
Fascinating, to say the least. There? How's that? So I spent a lot of time covering city and county government, and I found it very interesting. And during my time here in Bay City, I covered a lot of great events that happen here, such as Pig Gig and River Roar and Tall Ships and the great economic benefit to the city. I covered some not so great things, such as when a senior citizen froze to death, and Marvin sure did. And as a result of that happening, laws were passed to make sure that didn't happen across the state, as well as the fire that started on the roof of this fine building. So just covering stories like that, I thought it would be pretty neat to be involved in actually making decisions and trying to help the city move forward with different projects. And that's my main inspiration, is to try and help the city move forward.
All right. In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
I think our number one role in our ward is to listen to what our constituents have to say and try to move forward with their concerns of what's going on, in my case, in the First Ward. I do know there are several things that I'm already looking at. I'm concerned about the sidewalk situation around our ward, and a couple of streets, Woodside Lane and Nabovish Avenue, are not the greatest shape, although they are working on Nabovish right now. That's my primary mission, would be to respond to what my constituents have as their concerns.
Perfect. Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city? And how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
I think my number 1 priority would be doing something about all the empty business buildings around town. We need to stir economic development. There needs to be new buildings, new businesses in those buildings. I see it happening on occasion. For example, the Family Video right across the bridge has a new business in it. I'd like to see the one close to where I live have something put into that former Family Video. So that would be probably my number 1 concern. Try to get somebody like Art Dorr to get involved in developing the city. I'm glad to see the young man that's been doing great things at the State Theater, so that's a good start. Another concern that I would have would be the water pipes that we have across the city. I know we have a lot of old lead pipes. I don't know where we stand on that. I'm sorry I didn't do my research on it, but I know at least when I moved here about 15 or 20 years ago, it was a very serious concern. I'm concerned about lead in water and covering the Flint situation quite a bit. That's something that is always in the back of my mind. I got to be honest with you, I don't drink the tap water where I live. My last concern would have to be, let's see, talked about the street repair. I don't know if there's another one on top of those 2, but if I would think off the back of my mind, it would just have to be more involvement on the citizens' part, and also the parks. I like what we're doing in Carroll Park. There's a new playground, I understand, going in there. If we could have something like that in city parks across the city, I think that'd be great. There's 3 for you.
All right, thank you. And the second part was, how do those fit in your vision for over the city for the next 10 years?
Oh, it has to be the development of business, because if we don't have business growing and helping the tax base, it's not going to be good for the city. So I want to see that rejuvenated, especially the downtown area. I know it's very difficult these days with online shopping, but it would be nice to see more interest in the downtown area of Bay City. I liked what we did last year in the summertime, last few years of closing off some of the streets for dining. I think that should have been continued this year, and I think it helps draw people downtown.
All right, thank you.
Hello, Mr. McMorris. My question right now is, are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you, things you'd like to accomplish if elected?
Well, I did mention a few things, but I really am interested in the water situation, the water pipes. That is so important, and I have to let you know that I did receive the latest water report. I think it was last spring, and there was some chemical that was in part of the water that it wasn't over what it should be, but it was still in such a situation that it did let residents know about it. So I can't overemphasize how important it is to have nice, clean water coming out of our taps.
Thank you for being here. What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
I think the fact that I'm an adjunct professor at Mott Community College, I have to work with a lot of young people, and I like to work with them and hear their ideas and try to develop them as young individuals. So I think that would help me work with a lot of my constituents, that I could reach out and they could reach me and I could work with them in whatever concerns they have in the First Ward.
How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
I know that the city has a very good webpage, and I'm going to see, I would see about ways to connect to the constituents by using that and also social media. I'm not sure what social media does or how we work it here at City Hall, but that would be a way to reach a lot of people. I think that's how people like to communicate nowadays. I can't think of any other way besides doing that that would really connect with the constituents.
Thank you.
Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
Well, not as a civil servant or as someone serving the public, unless you're talking about being a reporter. There were instances where I had to go out in very serious conditions and cover forest fires and floods and other situations that I was putting myself above the others by doing that reporting. So I don't know if that will answer your question or not, but that's about as close as I can get.
Thank you.
Always tough to go first. We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
In the package that we receive? Well, I know that my first loyalty should be to my constituents in the First Ward, but I also have to consider the overall health of the city. So that would be my number one concern, is how it's going to affect all of us here in Bay City. And then I'd have to look at how my constituents would be affected.
All right, working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
I think that we have to act in a civilized manner, and I would like to hope that all of us would be able to do that. I know that other municipalities in mid-Michigan, that's not the case. But I would try to reach out to all of my fellow commissioners and the mayor and try to work as best as possible, and would be willing to meet anyone, anywhere to talk about it.
Thank you.
All right, and last question before we wrap up. Do you have any concerns about serving on the commission? And do you have any questions for us tonight?
I don't. I am currently semi-retired. I do teach as an adjunct professor at my community college, but that is the extent of my time, and that's usually in the winter semester, so I should be available whenever need be for work here at City Hall.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and we'll be making a decision here after all the interviews. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next applicant is Laura Marie Cubitt. And you're welcome to the podium or sit down, whichever works. It doesn't, I don't think it matters.
So if you want the podium, you won't have to hold the, press the button to turn the little green light on, and it'll stay on for you. Or if
Okay.
you'd like to sit, you'd have to hold that down. It's up to you.
Okay. If this is okay, I guess I'll just stay here.
Perfect.
Okay.
So again, thank you for being here tonight, and we'll start the questions with Mr. Tenney and do that, move the rotation. So you're not asking the same question every single time.
Alrighty. What inspired you to run for a seat on the Bay City Commission?
I heard that there was a vacancy, and I realized it was in my ward. And I realized there's a lot I didn't know about the City Commission, and so I was curious, and I dug into it. And I thought, well, I could do that. And so I thought I would try.
Thank you.
All right. So in your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
Well, I'm learning a lot still. I'm trying to get caught up to speed, but certainly each week I understand that there is an agenda that's set and a packet of quite a fair amount of material. So reading through the packet, of course, and being prepared not only to read through that material, but then do my own education about relevant topics. So for example, there's a lot I have to learn about brownfields and tax incentives. And so basically doing what I can if I'm appointed a commissioner to be prepared and do my homework. And then of course, being in touch with the constituents. So doing everything possible to have various ways to receive input from the constituents and hearing the goals and concerns of the constituents. And I don't know to what extent I could, but to try and help share the knowledge that I learned and share information and resources, which are very important to me. And then of course, to make educated and informed decisions.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you for showing tonight. Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city? And how do you fit those into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
Sure. Of course, there's a lot to juggle. I mean, the city business is complex. I understand there was recently a new plan, a new master plan that was revisited, and there's the zoning that's currently underway, which is all very exciting. So having multiple balls in the air is important, but I would say top 3 for me would be safe and affordable housing, the roads, the city infrastructure, and then also, I suppose, our development, bringing in new businesses and beautification to the city, bringing in a new tax base as well. So as far as how that goes over the next 10 years, using different tools, grants, tax incentives, things to attract new people to Bay City and new businesses to Bay City that will pay dividends in 10 years. We will have more taxes that come in, and we'll have a stronger safety net in our community if we lift up the residents that are here. Specifically, and I think this goes into the next question as well, focusing on seniors is very important to me. There's a lot of senior homeowners in our community, and I think there's a lot that can be done to bolster and support those seniors who are on fixed incomes, and usually utilizing programs that already exist. So the ARPA fund program that currently is run by the city, I think that's great. And I think by trying to maximize the resources that are already available, then that's going to improve our housing stock, and that's going to, I don't know, just every little bit helps to contribute to the city. So if we help our seniors improve their housing, that's going to be better housing that's passed down to others in the future.
Thank you for being here. Are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you, things you would like to accomplish if elected?
I guess, as I just said, the focus on seniors, I'm used to working with that population in my work, and I think that there's so much that can be accomplished with collaboration, both amongst the citizens themselves and with the different professionals that serve them. And specifically, I'm involved in helping vulnerable adults secure their autonomy and preserve it as much as possible, and to utilize home and community-based services as an alternative to institutionalization, which is better for taxpayers in the long run. It costs about $12,000 a month to be in a skilled nursing facility, and in Michigan, to receive those similar kinds of services in your home, it's a dramatically smaller amount of money for taxpayers. And so I'd like to help bolster those resources being available for our community, which I think will be good for everyone. And it will bring more care providers into this community as well.
What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
Yeah, I think that I'm a reasonable communicator. I feel like I'm diligent about the task that is assigned to me. I care very much about listening, learning, trying to build consensus, to collaborate, to be innovative and efficient. And to be optimistic. So I feel like my work as a civil legal aid attorney is in fact very relevant to the work of this commission as I understand it. And I think a lot of those skills are transferable. Everything from reading contracts, understanding how grants work, understanding how housing laws work. I think that's very useful and important. And I should say too, I am a landlord here in Bay City, so that's another perspective that I share.
Thank you.
How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
Well, I'm certainly open to feedback on that. I know that city commissioners get assigned a phone number and an email address, and I'm certainly very familiar to responding to phone calls and email through my work. I'm also happy to have a dedicated social media page on Facebook. I understand that a number of commissioners utilize that. I'm also open to having, regular chats or office hours. I don't know if anybody's tried that and if that's worked. I'm very used to coming to people's homes, and I'm happy to do that as well. I enjoy walking and biking, so I'm happy to get out there, and if any particular constituent or commissioner has an idea about best practices, what's worked for them, or something they'd like to try, I'm certainly open to it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
I'm sure if I thought longer about it, I could come up with a better example, but something that happened somewhat recently is I was visiting my godmother out of state, and I was about to get on the plane, but I was having a very intense negotiation on behalf of a client, and we were very close to being done, and I chose finishing that important conversation versus getting on my plane. So I had to take another one.
All right, we know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
Well, I would start by learning everything that I could about what's currently happening, what's currently planned, what's already on the books, what's working. I would ask whoever I can what they think or what they recommend. Try to figure out what the options are. Ask the experts. Maybe there's similar municipalities around the state that we could learn from. But I do realize that it's extremely challenging, that there's just not enough money to go around and do everything that we'd like to do. So I guess I would just try and be systematic about it and try and come up with criteria and try and be objective and have some kind of rubric so that whatever the process is, that it's fair, as fair as possible.
Thank you.
All right. Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
Oh, I feel like I'm pretty experienced in that. So as a lawyer, I'm bound by the rules of ethics and civility. And so I very much wholeheartedly believe that reasonable minds can differ. You can very much disagree. You can be calm. You can have different opinions. You can be curious about each other's opinions. You can learn from each other's perspectives. You can find common ground. And where possible, you can find a solution that, works for, if not everyone, as many people as possible, but make sure that everybody feels heard. I will admit that there's still a few questions I have about the Open Meetings Act. I've been trying to educate myself about communications outside of the commission because I certainly wouldn't want to overstep any of those bounds.
Thank you.
And before we wrap up, do you have any concerns about serving on the commission? And do you have any questions for us tonight?
Yeah, I guess a question I do have, I don't have any concerns about serving on the commission. In my current role, which is grant funded, and it's funded by a non-governmental grant, I don't currently do any litigation, so I'm not currently potentially going to have any cases against the Bay City Housing Commission, which I have had in the past. But a question I have is about the communication with constituents. So I don't know if maybe we could do this offline, but I am really curious as to what you all have found to be effective in communicating with your constituents, and maybe any ideas that you had for the commission as a whole or the city to improve communication with the residents. So I don't, we have a lot to get through.
I'm going to think it's one that could be taken offline, but I think there's been a various degree of factors. The city does have a robust Facebook and social media presence where we're continually posting updates, and then along with our current website. And I think each commissioner and myself have each different practices on how we get messaging or communications across to residents. So I think it goes to commissioner purview on what they decide how to connect with folks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're moving right along. So I'll give you time to write comments. Thank you. Commissioners, are you all set to move forward? I have head nods by everybody. Okay, so next up we have Gregory Geneseo, the second.
Geneseo, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for being here tonight. And obviously we're interviewing for the First Ward Commission seat, so I get to start us off with the first question. And so what inspired you to run for the seat on the Bay City Commission?
All right. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time today to be here. I know there is a lot of us, so I will keep it short and to the point. I wanted to be a part of the Bay City Commission because I care deeply about Bay City's future, especially for the next generation. As a father raising 5 children, I see the challenges we're facing, and I want to help build a city that keeps families here with safe neighborhoods, strong community programs. I'm ready to bring a steady, practical voice to the table and work hard to make Bay City a place my kids and other young families can strive.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
My main responsibility is to represent the people of the First Ward with integrity, transparency, and long-term thinking. That means listening to residents, making informed decisions, working with my fellow commissioners to solve real problems from infrastructure to youth engagement. I also see it as my duty to help build trust in local government by being accessible, consistent, and focused on what's best for the whole community.
Thank you for being here. Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city, and how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
I see 3 key priorities are fixing our aging infrastructure, keeping young families in Bay City, and strengthening our local economy. My vision over the next 10 years is to invest wisely in repairs, upgrades, support programs that give families reasons to stay, and to create a climate where small businesses and new ideas can thrive.
Thank you.
Are there any specific issues or goals that you are especially important to you, things you'd like to accomplish if elected?
Yes, my personal priority is building a better Bay City for my own children. Selfishly, I never want them to grow up and leave Bay City, and I hope to start making that a reality today. I want families to feel proud to stay knowing that their children have safe neighborhoods, strong community programs, and real opportunities to grow.
Thank you.
What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
I'm a calm, steady person, someone who listens first, thinks things through, and stays grounded even when conversations get tough. Growing up and also raising my family here has made me deeply invested in Bay City's future. I care about making thoughtful decisions for today and for generations to come. I bring patience, perspective, and a strong sense of responsibility to do what's right, even when it's not the easy path.
Thank you.
How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with the residents of your ward?
I would focus on being accessible and proactively attending community events, hosting informal coffee hours at local businesses, and leveraging social media to hear from residents who can't always make those public meetings. Listening and engaging should be ongoing.
Thank you.
All right. Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
Yes, absolutely. So as a father of 5, I have to put the needs of my family of my young children before my own immediate needs every day. It is a rewarding practice, but sometimes it is frustrating. I can also relate in my coaching experience. You know, I coach youth soccer ages 5 to 10, and at that age, it's mostly about developing skills for players. There are times where I could win if I wanted to play players unfairly, but that's not the overall goal here. The goal is to develop the players and give everyone fair playing time.
Thank you.
All right, so we know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
So I think with my background not being in infrastructure, I've learned to weigh the room and lean on the experts that are available. I would look for the infrastructure that has a return for the city and try to prioritize that first, but I would also weigh on the experts and take their feedback.
All right, thank you.
Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
I think between every disagreement, there's a compromise that can be found, a middle ground that can be met. And I think that no matter how different two opposing minds are, we could find a compromise for the betterment of the city as a whole versus our own personal goals. So I would pursue every opportunity with an open mind, willing to compromise.
And before we wrap up, do you have any concerns about serving on the commission, and do you have any questions for us tonight?
No concerns and no questions at this time.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll again be deciding tonight after all the interviews are done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Give everybody a couple minutes and just give me a head nod when you're ready to go. Everybody ready? All right. Javon T. Robinson Sr. We are a little bit ahead of schedule, but and there he is. So welcome here. Glad you could be here tonight for serving on the, potentially serving on the first ward. So we will start with the questions with Commissioner DeWitt.
Hello, and thank you for coming. What inspired you to run for a seat on the Bay City Commission?
Well, I heard it was open, and I've always been civically minded, making decisions for the community as a whole that I believe would benefit the community as a whole is very important to me. So I wanted to be part of that.
Thank you for being here. In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
The main responsibilities would be to be observant and cognizant of the needs of the community and to do their best to listen to the people of Bay City as a whole, but also for me, it would be the first ward, and to take steps to make positive improvement.
Thank you.
Thinking about challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city, and how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over 10 years?
Top 3 priorities would probably be an outreach, a program of outreach for youth. I have a lot of opportunity to speak with youth, and they feel a little bit lost. They don't feel like there's a lot going on for them, so some sort of outreach for them. I had the opportunity to, not last weekend, but the weekend before, enjoy the Art Fest, the Rivertown Art Fest, and I thought, along with, not just for youth, but for the city as a whole, I enjoyed it, and I felt it brought us together as a community. So more community building activities, I believe, would be important. I haven't been in Bay City very long, but things like that give me a great sense of community, and I'm sure it would for others in Bay City. And thirdly, I'd like to see more small businesses open up and get support.
Thank you.
Are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you? Things you'd like to accomplish if elected?
That's an excellent question. My answer to that would be that for me, it's expanding the sense of community is very important to me. More community events and projects and things that the whole community can be a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What qualities, experience, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
Well, I'm very goal-oriented. I like to set a goal and work towards a goal. But I'm also flexible at the same time. I can see that though a goal can be worked towards, there is room for flexibility. I have a strong sense of community. Community is very important to me, and I can see that as with a commission serving the community. Apologize, I lost my train of thought.
Thank you.
All right. How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
For me, social media is important to stay connected in our world today, as well as being out. I live in an area where I can walk and talk with my neighbors, so both a personal one-on-one connection as well as social media.
Thank you.
All right. Can you share it? Had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
Absolutely. I am a father of 2, and there have been many times I've had to put their needs ahead of my own. Whether it's just stepping up and going to work when I'm sick and because my children need to be provided for, or something of that nature, or just always putting their needs ahead of my own.
All right, thank you very much.
We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I missed the first part.
We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
For me, I would probably take a look at, I would try to get a list of the pending projects and determine which is most urgent and work from there.
Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
I try to find a compromise. Compromise is very important to me. I work, I try to make a collaborative effort, and if at all possible, I try to compromise, find a common ground, and ideally find a solution that suits both sides' needs.
Before we wrap it up, do you have any concerns about serving on the commission, and do you have any questions for us tonight?
No, I wouldn't say I have any concerns. I'm eager and ready to serve my community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. And we'll be deciding after we get done with all the interviews. I'll just give commissioners a few minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Devin Pomeroy Rupert had withdrew his name. He had a family emergency and withdrew. And then, so we have Jacob Sova up next, if he's ready. And commissioners, are you ready? All right. Again, Mr. Silva, again, thank you for coming here tonight, and look forward to hearing from you regarding some questions regarding the first ward. Yeah, we have to zoom. We have to do the zoomies online so they can get your face right. So, and we're gonna start with the 7th ward for the first question.
Thank you for being here this evening. First question is, what inspired you to run for a seat on the Bay City Commission?
So I'd like to say it's a pleasure being here once again, interviewing for the first ward position. What inspired me? Well, I'd like to say that any one of the 10 candidates here today is qualified for this job. If that statement makes it easier for me to be picked out, so be it. I'm not here to tell you why I am the only choice. I am here to tell you, the commissioners, to make the right choice of who the First Ward residents want as their commissioner. This won't be a contest between 10 people of who can say the most, what figures they can pull, what promises they can make, or what topics we can pander to. I'm not going to beg to be a leader in my community. In fact, if I don't get this commissioner seat, I'm going to apply for another committee board like I did the first time around. I come here to, I encourage everyone listening to apply for the Bay City Board Committee and be active in this city. To me, this is a job. This position is not going to be my crowning achievement, a pinnacle of success. It is not a title that is not coming with glitz and glamour. It's a civil servant job that listens to what the ward wants. To me, this is but one way I can step up to serve my community. This isn't my first time. The first time, I kept it short and sweet because I could try. And I was surprised that this job became abruptly available again. And my resolve to serve my community is stronger than ever. I applied because I know I can fill the commissioner seat with a nonpartisan stance. It takes a bit of knowing that self-importance goes below the values of what the majority wants within the ward. The attitude I bring is I am not a perfect person. I have made mistakes and had my share of successes. I have come in dead last and first. I have failed more times than I have ever been right. What sets me apart, though, is learning and trying and being a good sport. I am only 27 years old, and I'll be 28 in July. I live like a sponge, absorbing what I can and apply that to everyday life. I think I have made enough mistakes to right those wrongs to know what it takes to be a leader for First Ward Commissioner.
Thank you.
In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
Listening to my neighborhood. Be quiet because it's the residents' turn to talk. Inform residents of ideas and what is happening in their city. Educate myself because I'm not always right. Be present with people and not think of a great comeback as they talk. Be aware of who I am surrounded by because we are all going through different paths of life. And I need to always surround myself with a variety of people who agree and disagree with me. Be kind and thoughtful to all. Be punctual. Never fib to satisfy the moment. Get back with people with a plausible answer, not an excuse.
Thank you.
Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city? And secondly, how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
My top 3 priorities, in no particular order, is the First Ward residents. What they want, what they are telling me is how I should sail my boat. Accountability, and always ask myself, what more could I do?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you, things that you'd like to accomplish if elected?
Personal priorities in no particular order. Have I done everything I need to do? Did I treat the residents fairly? Did I lead by example?
All right. What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
A trait I possess is that I value leadership and encouraging people. I lead by example, and I am not afraid to take a step. My strength is asking myself how I want to be remembered. Skills I possess, but not limited to: listening, being flexible when life doesn't go according to plan, not saying sorry, but rather, how can I fix it?
Thank you.
How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
So I like to shop at Walmart. I'm at Gilly's Bistro, Tummy Ache, Coonan's Irish Pub. I'm at Menards. I'm at various places around my community. And I'm open to the idea of somebody coming up and saying, hey, can I talk to you for like 5 minutes? Yeah, of course. And the rest is history. Also, emailing, texting, talking. Maybe in the future there might be holograph messages. I don't know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for reapplying. After last time I was on the other side listening to yours. Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
I will admit that question threw me for a loop. I was not expecting that today. However, I can think of a time where I had to make a decision as a leader. So I'm a Boy Scout, been in the scouting movement since I was in the Cub Scouts. And I learned some skills like first aid, and that came into a time when I was in college. I was coming home from freshman year for spring break, and I was walking to Kroger on Center with my my girlfriend, now she's my fiance, to the store, and then there was a car, and then another car, and one car swerved, and then this car just like toppled over and like went under, like upside down, and it was crazy. So I already crossed the street, and you know, I was like, oh, I'm a Boy Scout. I gotta use my skills because obviously I possess the skills that are needed for the situation. So I went over there, and there was people pulling the gentleman out of his truck, and the first thing I said was, anybody have a first aid kit? Luckily, somebody said, yeah, I have one in my truck, and I was like, awesome. So then somebody from, I think it's the Walgreens, they came out, said, is there anything that I can do? And I was like, paper towel, water, and they said, okay. And then somebody hands me the phone, and I'm like, wow, I'm like actually doing something with the skills that I learned. I had, you know, the knowledge that I used, the tools that I learned, and I applied them. So I put myself in a situation that I was not expecting myself in. And so, long story short though, the guy was okay. Bumps, scrapes, the ambulance came, which was great, and went about my day with my gal.
We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How do you decide which projects to prioritize?
So I mentioned about listening to what the residents want. I mean, absolutely, I would love to see my street done first. I would love to see my area, particular, my house, be like great. However, that's not what this is about. It's about what the community wants, what they're talking about. And so I'd be listening to them. I know that we have streets that have seen better days. We have infrastructure that has seen better days. I would be listening to them, what they want. Yeah, I could be trailing off right here. I heard from someone that Johnson Street used to be a more bustling. There used to be like, it was a vibrant little village within the first ward. And I thought that was pretty neat, what I heard. So hopefully through listening to what people want, we can get something similar to that in our first ward.
Thank you.
Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
As I mentioned, I'm not always right. There are times where I have some ideas that could be right, and the person I'm talking to might be disagreeing with me. So we would take turns talking, listening to each other. And as other applicants have said, we find compromise. And I absolutely agree with that. That was an excellent response by the other applicants.
Thank you.
Last question. Do you have any concerns about serving on the commission first? And do you have any questions for us tonight?
I appreciate that question. And this is a good question, is how do you separate personal with professionalism? Because I would love to be, friendly, yet I gotta be professional, so I don't wanna be, and also if you are professional, you don't wanna bring professionalism into friendly life. I hope that's understandable, because we want to be professional here. Yeah, we can't just make ourselves rigid and cold. We want to be friendly with each other. So how does that work out? I'm sure it's hard.
All right, thank you very, is that a question?
Yeah, I was actually really curious of
I mean, I think it's, personal relationships and working together, you can be friendly and with a purpose. So, obviously we have the goals of the city and work together to accomplish those goals, and working with residents and together we have limited time here to do the business of the city. And so we get in, we do the business, and we move forward, and hopefully at the end of the day, the community's better for it. So hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Just about. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you very much. I'll give commissioners a few minutes, and then we have our last in-person candidate who's in the audience, Mr. Rosenblum, and then we have 3 that unfortunately could not be here in person, so we have video tape the actual questions, so we'll hear those and then do our evaluation. So, are commissioners ready? Or do you need a couple more minutes? I can see a couple thumbs up. Yeah, commissioners, Coakley, Denny, okay. Mr. Rosenblum, please join us if you would. We're a little ahead of schedule, so which probably is not a bad thing. So thank you very much for coming tonight for the First Ward Commission seat. And where did I put that? We have our 8th Ward Commissioner will start the questions if you're ready.
What inspired you to run for a seat on the Bay City Commission?
Oh, we just have to make sure the mic is on so everybody can hear you. Oh, he's gonna have to, because that one is, you gotta hold the mic.
Yeah, okay. I moved here a dozen years ago, and I had lived here earlier back in 1970 and always liked it. And over the years, I would come around and stop in and finally started thinking it would be a good place to retire and talked my wife into the idea. And so we're still glad we're here. I like to say it's a big enough place that it's got a mix of people and things to do, and a big hospital and a big library, but it's still easy to get around and it's friendly. It's not quite as easy to get around as it used to be. I got tied up in some interesting gridlock coming here tonight, and that's unfortunate. But one of the things I had noticed first when I moved here was the lack of traffic reports on the radio every 10 minutes, and now there could be. But I'm still glad I'm here, and so is my wife.
Thank you.
In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
Well, obviously representing the First Ward in particular, but also the city as more broadly. And certainly you can't make everybody happy all the time, and some things come up that are hot topics of disagreement, and you have to make a stand sometimes, and maybe there is a room for compromise, but not always. You go one way or the other, and hopefully nobody beats you up on the corner at night.
Thank you.
Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city, and how do these fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
The thing that has really bothered me a lot here is what seems to be a big lack of transparency, and hot topics come up, you know, things like that hotel bankruptcy that the city has some role in, and it never seems to get talked about in these meetings. I haven't normally been coming here to these meetings because I've been taking classes at Studio 23 on Monday nights, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to give them a plug. But I've been regularly seeing the streaming or YouTube videos of the meetings afterwards. And things come up like this that people wonder about, and they seem to come and go with no mention or little mention in these meetings. And, you know, the hotel bankruptcy, yeah, it may well be the case that the city has benefited from that hotel being here, but it also appears as if the city lost out on getting some money back in the end. And maybe that was never really going to happen. But it's an unanswered mystery out there in public that people wonder about. And what's going on with those talks regarding the tolls? That came up, seems to have not been mentioned. So I think there's a concern here, and that this body could serve perhaps as more of an investigative body and report back to the city, to the public, on things that people wonder about. Another, I guess, one more thing in that same line of thinking is that there's an annual State of the City address that's given in public to the Chamber of Commerce for $60 a seat. And it really seems to me like that ought to be presented to the city, to the public for free. Really, the city officials ought to be, they do obviously report to the public, but it appears as if there's more of a concern for satisfying the business community here. And maybe that's not really the case, but that's how it appears, and appearances really do matter.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you, things you'd like to accomplish if elected?
I think that really is it, the point of transparency and reporting on things that aren't getting reported on. I mean, my background is in newspaper work, and it's a problem all over the country that the news business has essentially collapsed. And so things that would have gotten reported on in the past by a crew of reporters are no longer being reported on. And so it's reasonable for people to wonder. And I sometimes see people mentioning, oh, they're all corrupt in City Hall and all that. And I don't buy that. You know, I've seen nothing that indicates that. But I think people really do have a sense that they don't know what's going on and that more could be done to ease that.
Thank you.
All right. What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to this commission?
Well, I mean, my background is in asking questions and being skeptical. I had a boss that used to introduce me as Dennis the Skeptic, and I think it was intended as a compliment. You know, I've got somewhat of maturity, and I've been around somewhat. I think to some extent there's a lot of insularity here. There's a lot of maybe too many people who get hired for things who grew up here and people know them, and it's the friendly old gang. But in fact, in that case, you lose out on people who have experiences elsewhere and ideas that they picked up in other places.
Thank you for coming tonight. How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
Well, beyond simply emails and phone and things like that, I mean, people have talked about having a coffee hour, and I suspect you really don't get anybody to come out for those. I was thinking I could have a beer hour at one of the fine or more First Ward bars. I think if I limit it to 2 hours, nobody's going to get drunk on my dime, and that'll be okay. But maybe after a couple of beers, people will tell me what they really think.
Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
You know, nothing really comes to mind, you know. I'm certain something has come up, but, you know, I guess I don't have a lot of needs.
Thank you.
We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
There was some interesting, I thought, thoughtful talk a couple meetings back about how to prioritize streets being repaired. And it was somewhat enlightening, and I was impressed by the thoughtfulness of, you know, you don't always simply want to go for fixing the worst streets first, that you want to give some thought to taking some streets that aren't terrible yet and keeping them from being terrible. I do really think that it would be worth having city crews simply drive around and throw asphalt into potholes. And probably you could do that by picking a neighborhood at a time. I have no idea really what the expense is or the time involved, and maybe somebody could convince me that that's really not a great idea. But in the meantime, a lot of potholes could quickly be filled, and I think people would be quickly a lot happier with that, even though they clearly would not be permanent fixes on roads that need it. And there's been, you know, some interest, it sounds like, in having people ride bicycles. And some of these streets, nobody could ride a bike on safely at all. So I really think that there ought to be a priority on simply filling potholes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
You know, sometimes there are compromises that can be made, but the reality is that people aren't always going to agree on things, and you win some and you lose some, and you move on, and hopefully you win maybe half the time, you know. But there's no cause for anger or nastiness about it, or there certainly ought not to be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any concerns about serving on the commission? And secondly, do you have any questions for us tonight?
No, I have no concerns. I'm retired. I've got plenty of time to spend on it. you know, like I say, I mean, somebody's going to get angry at the way I vote one time or another, and that comes with the territory, you know, and I can be polite about listening to differences of opinion. But, no, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would say, while I'm sitting here, I'm reminded that people are always blinded at some point in the evening, sitting or standing at the podium here, and I don't know what's involved in screening those little bits of windows left up there, but I noticed that it's a problem every meeting. People are blinded, and it can't be that big of a hassle. And also, that microphone, I'm assuming you could get a more omnidirectional microphone, because a lot of the people, it simply does not pick up, you know, on the recording of what's being said. Maybe that's a pipe dream, and maybe it's, I have no understanding of the technical hassle involved, but, you know, that might be an easy fix, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and expressing your opinions. All right. We have now 3 additional interviews that were done. That will be played on the screen. Do we need to take a quick break before we start those? Commissioner Morris?
I was going to move to suspend the rules and take a 5-minute recess.
Is anybody object to taking a quick recess before we do that? All right, let's do that. We'll come back at 47. All right, it's now 6:47. We'll go back and we have 3 videos. We have Christopher Robert Greenleaf. He'll go first.
Hi, my name is Christopher Greenleaf. I'm applying for the First Ward Commissioner seat for the City of Bay City. What inspired me to be the commissioner was my deep sense of purpose and desire to lead. From an early age, I admired the discipline, integrity, and the leadership of this city. I wanted to be a part of something greater than myself, an organization that has value, service, and accountability, and excellence. Through my academic and personal development, I realized I have a strong calling to lead by example, take on greater responsibilities, and to help others succeed. Commissioners offer the opportunity not only to grow personally and professionally, but it is also to serve my community in a meaningful way. Thank you. Commissioners create and passes local laws, including zoning, public safety regulations, and business licensing. Approve the city's budget, allocating funds for services like the police, fire department, public works, and parks. Oversee the city departments and services, ensuring that they are operating efficiency and meeting our community needs. Representing the interests of the citizens, addressing concerns from residents, advocating for the community's welfare. Appointing city officials, such as city's managers, city clerks, and some members of advisory boards and commissions. As a zoning commissioner for the past 20 plus years with this city, I find my leadership to be part of why I want to do this, and my local experience serving the city of Bay City as a zoning commissioner, I have a firm knowledge on what commissioners need and should do for their citizens. As far as one of my values of wanting to be the First Ward Commissioner is because I truly have been a lifelong resident of the First Ward. I'm a son of a retired Bay City police officer, growing up on 2nd Street, right off of Carroll Park, and moving within 6 blocks, now raising my family on Helen Street, right off of Nebovish. As far as some of my personal experiences, I do sell real estate here in Bay City, owning a real estate brokerage, selling multi-million dollars in houses across this city each and every year for the past 30. I also do consulting work for Dean Management. That's a company that offers and helps school districts manage special needs transportation, getting students safely to and from school on a daily basis. I have a background in healthcare, working at McLaren Bay Region for 25 years. I've also been on the city zoning board, making choices to help improve our city for the past 20 years as a zoning commissioner. I am now one of the longest term city zoning members after one of our predecessors just resigned a couple weeks ago, Mr. Darby. Ways that I would keep in touch with the residents of the First Ward is do an email newsletter, provide clear language that focus on the relevance of their concerns, post videos to social media platforms such as Facebook, X, Instagram. Also have listening tours, visit schools, businesses, and listen to what they want me as their leader to do. Have polls, send out short, accessible surveys that understand the community's priorities. Attend local events, show up at school functions, festivals, and other gatherings, so I'm a visible commissioner within this city. Thank you. Although through the years sitting on the zoning commission of Bay City, have made many difficult decisions that went against what my belief I put others to the forefront, is when people came here to have businesses, allowing them to do businesses that are not conforming to the area, that I thought would not be good for the area, and allowing them to do that, or even residents that come to do different things to their home to make their dwellings better for them. I'm knowing that that's a clear against what zoning says, and zoning has strict standards that we have to follow to allow these people to maintain their properties and have effective things within their needs. So like I said, being a zoning commissioner, these values come up almost every time I have a board meeting, and I always have to think about others before I put myself in that situation. When it comes to infrastructure, I think the top priorities, one would be for transportation. The roads, our local highways throughout our community, of course, the bridges, the concerns over the tolling, stuff of that we need to address as a commission. Then we go down to electricity and our utilities across, to making sure that they have adequate supply, grids are up to date, power lines are working well. Then go into water and our wastewater system. Drinking water supply lines going to our homes, which the city is already replacing some lead lines, as they did in front of my house last week. And then go down to telecommunications, broadband, the 5G networks for our community. I think that's what we need to focus on to get our infrastructure to where it should be for our residents. And as far as the next question about, what would happen, about if I disagree with others from the city or on the other commissioners on topics, I think, as leaders, there has to be some kind of middle ground where both sides need to come together and think about what is the most beneficial for the residents, not ourselves, not anything but the residents. The residents are number one. And you have to be mature and be able to think sensibly on both sides. Even if you disagree, sometimes you need to agree, because that would be the better thing to do for the community. Once again, thank you for the time tonight. I just want to reintroduce myself. I'm Christopher Greenleaf. I am looking to be the First Ward Commissioner. I have tried for this position a few times, including being on the ballot once, and then a couple times when people have resigned from the post. I have a very passion for this position. I think truly being a lifelong resident of the First Ward and my business history and the choices I made on the zoning board for all these past years, that I would be the fantastic candidate for this position, and that I would represent the citizens of the First Ward well, and the overall community and the city of Bay City. Again, I want to thank you for your time tonight, and I would hopefully that you consider me for the commission seat. Thank you.
Good evening.
Do commissioners need any time? I think we're all set to keep going.
Good evening. My name is Barb Appold, and I would like to be considered for the First Ward Commissioner's seat. I'm sorry I can't be with you this evening. However, I had a commitment that I could not reschedule, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you via video. I'm going to answer the questions that you would ask me in person, and I will do the best I can to be as concise and succinct as possible. Question number 1. What inspired you to run for the seat on the Bay City Commission? I have been a person that has been quite involved in Bay City over the years. I've been a member of the Board of Directors of the Baysale Corporation. I've been on the Salvation Army Board of Directors. I served on Emmanuel Lutheran Schools Board of Education. I have also been on the Saginaw Valley State University Alumni Association. So I truly enjoy being part of the community and part of the decision-making process for others. Question number 2. In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner? I believe the main responsibilities are 1, being very transparent, working toward the good of the whole for the constituents in the First Ward. And I also believe that we have to be forward-thinking, that we have to have what a 5-year strategic plan, a 10-year strategic plan, and further. That is important. We can't be short-sighted in our decisions. We have to think long-term. Question number 3. Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city? And how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years? First and foremost, we've got to make sure that we have a safe place for people to live. Safety is job 1, and that includes having safe roads, sidewalks, safe parks, places for people to live and enjoy. So I think that's a very high priority to make sure that we maintain that. Not only do we fix any problems we have, but we maintain them into the future and keep a system where we keep maintenance as a priority. Also, I think that the idea of economic development to continue. We've done a good job. We've got Uptown. We've got places where people are thriving. We've got small businesses in our town. We've got people investing in our town, and I think that's a great thing. We need to keep that going and to nurture it and promote it. And the third thing I would say, I have to think about that one, is I want to make sure that I'm a liaison to bring in people to become active members of the community. So I think we can promote that as well as being city commissioners. Question number 4. Are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you, things that you'd like to accomplish if appointed. I am especially committed to historic preservation. I am thrilled that I live in a town that has such incredible history. I think that we need to be celebrating that all the time. In the First Ward, we have a lot of historical homes as well as the gem of Carroll Park. I would like to see Carroll Park revitalized. I would like to see Carroll Park become once again a place for our community members to gather and have that great resource that has been around for well over 100 years. Question number 5, what qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission? I have served on a variety of boards with fairly long tenure. I've served on the Historic District Commission in Bay City here. I've served on the Salvation Army Board. I've served on the Bay Sale Board and on the Saginaw Valley Alumni Association Board. I also teach leadership in higher education. I teach in a doctoral program currently at a college, and their doctorate would be in leadership. I also think that I am good at collaborating, I'm good at listening, and I'm good at helping people solve problems. Question number 6. How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents of your ward? I would definitely have posted what I would consider to be office hours so people can connect with me during those times. I would use social media, and I also would go door to door just introducing myself as their commissioner. I would make sure that I was visible and accessible to my constituents. Question number 7. Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own? I don't know if it was a difficult decision, but I made the decision to be with my father, who was in a nursing home and had dementia on a daily basis. I did not miss a day. I went to see him every day. I knew that he needed me as his touch point since my mom had already passed and my brothers did not live in town. Question number 8. We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize? I would defer to the city engineer on which projects they have prioritized. I also would get input from my First Ward constituents. Question number 9. Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward? I feel that I'm a good listener and that I am able to find common ground with others, and then we move forward. Things can get difficult, but we have to be able to work around disagreements and keep the best interest of the city as our top priority. Question number 10. Before we wrap up, do you have any concerns about serving on the commission, and do you have any other questions for us tonight? I do not have any concerns about serving on the commission, and I would hope that when I run for the full term seat, that I will have learned a lot in the process. I don't have any questions for you, considering the format that we're using, but I thank you for your time and for your consideration. Thank you.
I'll give commissioners just a minute or two, and then we'll listen to our final presentation, our final interview. You all set? Everybody ready? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Brent William Edmonds, and I am seeking the seat of the First Ward of Bay City. I'm coming to you from Bethel, Maine. So I apologize for one, not being there, two, for the primitiveness of this video. I'd also like to apologize to the mayor, city manager, commission, and mostly the public for not being able to attend tomorrow night's public meeting. But thank you for allowing me to make this video. So my wife Kelly is going to be my moderator, and she will be asking me the questions that I will answer.
Brent, what inspired you to run for a seat on the Bay County Commission?
That's a good question. I think what inspired me to seek this position is being a resident of Bay City for the past 16 to 18 years of my life, being a husband and father, and owning a small business in this town. I have a vested interest in our city's future and success. I believe that Bay City can be something very special. It is very special, but it could be even more special. Back in the winter or spring, when former Commissioner Prentz applied for the position and got it, I had thought about putting my name in the hat then to seek the seat, but I just wasn't ready. And unfortunately, with Commissioner Prentz not being able to fulfill his duties, which I thought he was doing a great job, I thought it was time, because it's easy these days to be negative. It's easy to complain and gripe. It's easy to sit at a keyboard behind a screen and type nasty things about our city, but it's hard to be positive and a realist and pull up your bootstraps and get to work. So I feel like I'm that person. I want to see our city be the best version of itself. I want to see the best Bay City it can be, and not just for a select group of people, but for all Bay Cityans, all citizens. So yeah, that's what inspired me.
Thank you. In your view, what are the main responsibilities of a city commissioner?
I believe the main responsibilities of a commissioner are to, one, represent his constituents of his ward. Secondly, to represent all Bay Cityans in their best interest. I believe it's the responsibility of a commissioner to communicate to his constituents information that is vital that they need, be either public safety, infrastructure, whatever is going on in the city that the citizens need to know. I think it's also responsibility of the commissioner to put their best interest forward. It's not, I'm not seeking this seat for my interest. It's to represent people of my ward. And I think also to work with the fellow, the 8 other commissioners to get our city where it needs to be. But yeah, I think the main responsibility is to represent our constituents, and secondly, all the citizens of Bay City.
Thank you. Thinking about the challenges and opportunities in Bay City, what do you believe should be the top 3 priorities for the city? And how do those fit into your vision for Bay City over the next 10 years?
I think my 3 primary goals would be 1, public safety, 2, infrastructure, and 3, retaining and acquiring talent to stay in our city, meaning keeping our youth, but also attracting new people to the area. I think one, obviously, I think the biggest concern with any citizen is that they want to feel safe in their city. And not that Bay City isn't safe, but it's could be safer. We have work to do. We know what Bay City was, We know what Bay City is, but also I think we all hope what Bay City can be. And as a commissioner, I would do as much as I could to give public safety what they need, the resources, the training, whatever they need to do their jobs as best as they can. I have, my father's a retired police officer, my father-in-law. We have a lot of people in our family that are involved with law enforcement. So I have a very special place in my heart for public safety. It means a lot to me. Secondly, obviously, as we all know, everyone talks about infrastructure in the city, the streets, the bridges, water lines and sewer and everything that goes with it. And obviously, infrastructure is very important, and it's also very costly. It's something that's not to be taken lightly at all, and it's probably the biggest thing impacting Bay City and its residents is infrastructure. It's something 10 years down the road. I attended a commission meeting, I think it was a couple months ago, and a lady from the city did a great presentation on streets, and it was shocking to me how much it costs to fix a street. A mile of street was like $4 million or something. So yeah, infrastructure is a huge one. And then thirdly, the decline of population. I think when I was a kid, Bay City was around 38 or 39,000 people. Now I believe it's to be between 30, 31,000 people. And that's kind of scary. We have an aging population. Don't hold me to this, but I believe Bay County has per capita the oldest population in the state. So not only, unfortunately, are we losing our older citizens, but we're also losing our youth. And we need to find ways and opportunities to retain our youth so they stay here, live here, work and play, but also attract people to come to our region, to our city, and do the same. So yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part, if it's just the next year and a half, to the term ends, but it's something that I really want.
Thank you. Are there any specific issues or goals that are especially important to you? Things you'd like to accomplish if elected?
Well, my wife and I, we do have a special needs son, Finn. He's 11. He attends Washington Elementary. I know Carroll Park just received a huge grant, and they're going to be an accessible playground there, which is amazing. The one down at Vets, that's awesome to see. It would be awesome if all greenscapes had that capability for the disabled to enjoy them just as much as a normal kid. But I would say that obviously with my son going to Washington, McKinley's being fixed right now, but 7th Street sidewalks are horrible. And it's tough with the outlawns and the trees and stuff, or sidewalks, but sidewalks have always been kind of a concern of mine, just because of Finn being in a wheelchair. But as far as other things in the city that I would like to see worked on other than greenscapes, which I think the city does an amazing job actually with greenscapes, and we have quite a few parks, is helping, I guess if you want to call them the underprivileged. We have a growing number of underprivileged people in the downtown area, homelessness, if you want to call it that, addressing that issue, and not so much for the look of our city, but just the fact to help those people as much as we can. I would like to see that, so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What qualities, experiences, or strengths do you bring that would make you a strong addition to the commission?
That's always a weird question. It's weird talking about yourself. I feel that being not only a husband and a father and a small business owner, which are huge roles in themselves, but being a small business owner, it makes you, it kind of puts you out of your norm, out of your comfort zone. Being a leader, delegating authority, but also leading in a way that's compassionate, empathetic, listening to your employees, listening to your wife, your son, their needs, but also your neighbors and fellow citizens. So I feel that I'm a very good listener. I feel that I'm respectful, and I think that's something the commission could use. We're not always gonna agree with each other. It's just the way society is, but I think you can do it or disagree in a respectful manner, you know, and I'm honest. My wife will tell you that, but maybe too honest. But yeah, I think listening, honesty, compassion, those are probably my strongest traits.
Thank you. How would you go about hearing from and staying connected with residents in your ward?
That's probably honestly not my strongest suit. I mean, I do like social media, but I feel that that's something that I would have to work on. I'll probably start a Facebook page for the first ward to get information out to the people, but you know, they have to know about it. So I don't, if it's a thing sending out mailers or going door to door to let people know so they can join the group. But I also thought it'd be kind of neat, since we do have Carroll Park, and you know, at some point, maybe not this year because it's already going to be July, but maybe next year having a first ward party at the park, a get together for everyone in the first ward, just so people can meet each other and talk, and you know, how we used to communicate with each other face to face, and you know, share ideals, complain if they want, whatever. But yeah, social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you know, whatever it takes to get the information out to the people.
Thank you. Can you share a time when you had to make a difficult decision that put the needs of others above your own?
Like every day? No. I think being a husband and a father and a small business owner, and being a wife and a mother, we do that on a daily basis, and it's kind of because we have to put needs of others before us, but also on a daily basis, I hope we're putting our neighbors' needs before us, lending a helping hand to a senior citizen neighbor or just a fellow citizen in the city. You know, it's really, compassion is something it's really, I stated it earlier, compassion is a really important thing that I feel like our society is losing, and we need to, I think our primary purpose on this earth is to help people. And if we can't do that, at least we shouldn't hurt them. So.
Thank you. We know infrastructure is a top concern for many people. How would you decide which projects to prioritize?
Well, I think safety being number one. I worked for GM for 10 years, and they always said there are three things were safety, quality, and quantity, and they didn't really live by it. They wanted more quantity, quality, and safety, but I think a project should be determined by safety and need. And from, like I talked earlier, the commission meeting a couple months ago, it sounds like the city has a pretty good plan going forward for the next, I believe it was till like 2028 of projects they want to do for the streets they want to repair and replace. And so I think the city has a pretty good handle direction that they're moving in that. I think maybe though, the city needs more input from the citizens in areas that need more addressing. Because we have some, I think, what was it, 141 miles up, I forget the grade, 2 or 3 level streets that are pretty in bad shape. So public input is a huge thing. More public forums. People need to be aware of them. They also need to show up. Like the public has to do their part too. You know, it's like I said before, it's easy to complain and stuff, but the public needs to show up. They need to voice their input. They need to let us know what they want. And yeah.
Thank you. Working with others isn't always easy. How would you collaborate with fellow commissioners or city staff when you disagree on the best way forward?
Like I said before, you know, we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to agree to disagree or vice versa. We're not always going to have the same views and opinions. But as long as we do it in a respectful manner, and we hear each other out, talk about stuff, voice it, listen, that's really all you can ask for. I mean, the way the world is these days, we've lost that, and we need to find some civility, and we just need to be more compassionate and human with each other. We just need to listen to each other, and like I said, we're not always going to agree with each other, but we can always find a common path forward. It doesn't always have to be left or right. It just has to be somewhere in the middle where it works for everyone, because that's what's important. It's not about the mayor, city manager, the 9 commissioners in there. It's about all the Bay Cityans, because that's what we're there for, is to take care of them.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, do you have any concerns about serving on the commission? And do you have any questions for us tonight?
I don't really have any questions. I guess my biggest concerns would be, one, if I did get the position, that I could get as much help as possible, that my fellow commissioners would lend a helping hand and teach me the city, you know, the information that I needed to get out to the public, that they're, you know, it's accessible and quick, and, you know, just working together. But other than that, I don't have any concerns. I'm excited. I hope I get it, but you know, there was 10 other really qualified applicants, and it's great to see such an interest in our ward. It's great to see such an interest in our city. So I'm very happy about that. I just want to leave you with one thing that I find that I try to live my daily life by, and I think it's a quote. It's actually from a TV show on Netflix called Afterlife, but it stars a British comedian, Ricky Gervais. He lost his wife to cancer, and he's at the cemetery visiting her, and he's sitting on a bench with the older lady who lost her husband, and the older lady looks at him and says, "A society grows great when old men plant trees for which shade they will never sit under." And good people do things for people. So it's important. We need to help each other. We need to be compassionate, and we need to make Bay City the best Bay City it can be. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our interview process for this evening. Next item on the agenda is public input. Under the rules of the City Commission, each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to speak. Commissioner Coakley will serve as the timekeeper. So this is the opportunity for citizens to address the commission regarding any agenda item or any other matter. If anyone wishes to address the commission, please come forward, print your name on the registration sheet, and state your name and address for the record. Again, we do ask people to be respectful when addressing the mayor and commission, and at this time, public input is one-way communication, and the mayor and the commissioners cannot answer questions at this time. You're welcome to meet with them after the meeting if you need further information.
I was saying, I'm putting in my address. I guess I want to stay, first thing.
Just state your name and address.
Oh, sorry. My name is Matthew Seuss. I live in the South End at 1301 Lisk Drive, Bay City, Michigan. And yeah, I guess I want to say first, as Mr. Rosenblum is right, the sun does chase you around the room while you're sitting in there. I had to move my seat like maybe 3 different times. But yes, I'm here to advocate briefly on behalf of my colleague, Laura Cubitt, for appointment to this position. I worked with Laura for a few years at Legal Services of Eastern Michigan, working as a legal services attorneys. She specifically worked as a senior exploitation specialist for seniors who were in a vulnerable situation and needed an advocate. And just working with Laura and how she works on behalf of her clients, I think she would do a great job working on behalf of our city. You know, she is not the type of lawyer who just gets somebody with one problem, deals with that problem, and sends them out the door. She's very holistic. She talks to her clients. She learns more about the issues, and you know, someone might come in the door with one issue, but you'll learn about 2 or 3 more, and helps, you know, and ends up, you know, solving. Really getting into the root of their problems, maybe solving other issues that may actually be, you know, those things that are lurking in the background that might be a bigger issue. And I just, you know, and you have a question of like, when does somebody, or you guys are asking your candidates, you know, when have you gone, you know, to a place of personal sacrifice to help something else or to work on something? And it was like, Laura does that all the time. I just, for her clients, you know, where it's like, for instance, there was a case, I used to tease her about it in the office. She had a client who had a meeting at the bank in their town in Beaverton, Michigan, and their ride fell through. And so she drove up there just to give them a ride over to the bank so they could get their documents signed and all that stuff. You know, it's just such a, you know, she does such a good job that, like, to be honest with you, you're not serving yourself in legal services. If you're in private practice, you'd get so many referrals just because of the fact that, you know, if you had a family member who was, you know, at risk or needed help, Laura would be the attorney you would hope you'd get to help them out. And so, you know, going back to, you know, the community, she's been here for, I think, what, 11 years or so, and has, you know, been very committed to the community, very involved in the community. I mean, her job right now, she works with Bay County, with the Commission on Aging, with the probate court. Again, with a program specifically aimed at helping seniors maintain their independence, which is a big risk for that community. You know, seems like anytime a senior has a problem, the people are rushing to, you know, take away their rights, either with a guardianship or a conservatorship. And, you know, Laura lobbied for Bay County to have this program right now where she's helping, and as part of the program, seniors keep their independence. And so, considering the fact that, you know, we know how our demographics are changing here in Bay County, we're getting older, you know, having somebody who has that type of experience that, you know, the members of our community are facing on a day-to-day basis, I think would be of a lot of value to the City Commission. And then I guess, you know, another aspect to bring up is, you know, at the end of the day, you know, she does bring a unique perspective as a woman as well, just by the fact that, you know, we're currently missing our lone remaining female commissioner, I think is a problem just for representation in our community. And so I think she also brings that perspective as well, and would be valuable to the commission in that way. So Yeah, those would be my points. But anyway, wish you guys luck in making your decision. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I hope I helped with a little more information.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward?
Valerie, 1513 Helen Street. Last week, we, the working class and the people of Bay City, Michigan, outside Bay City Hall on June 14th, alongside almost more than 5 million people across the country, exercised our First Amendment rights to free speech and to protest. And on June 18th, to protest against the policies of the government, and on June 18th, some of us gathered again to demand that the local government fight and protect our community if anyone is ever targeted by ICE or other agencies, an arms embargo on Israel, peace with Iran, and to redistribute our tax dollars into our communities and not into genocide. We also called on Sean Fain of the UAW and all union leaders. They have the power, and the working class of America, they have the voice to stop this. Again, look at how many people came out to protest on the 14th. Why don't they mobilize these people every single day? We have the power. We already know there are more working class people than there are of the 10%. But no, they still continue to contribute to this genocidal machine and don't do anything that will push for real change. In my view, they are just like the corrupt politicians of both parties who do not do anything on behalf of the people and only want to further their own agenda or career. And that is just sickening that they keep playing politics as if it were a game when it is not. We are talking about real people with real lives who do not want to play a game. The people of Palestine, Iran, and the world cannot wait until 2028 for a general strike. A general strike must happen, not in a few days, not tomorrow, but now. Every single company right now is in violation of international law and human rights abuses. Not to mention, ICE is arresting immigrant workers and union leaders across the country. Does this not constitute a strike because there are still contracts with these companies? Bay City residents already know what it's like when a company violates contracts and nothing is done about it, don't we? Are these meaningless contracts, which are just pieces of paper, mind you, worth more than actual human lives? How many charred corpses of children do people need to see? How many decapitated babies? How many American soldiers need to die for nothing? How many people need to die until we say enough? These companies always are guilty of exploitation and of all workers and the people. Most of us are not even paid a living wage, especially immigrants, prisoners, and homeless people who can't even get a job because they do not have a home. They are also all being torn apart from their families and communities, and then exploited and forced to contribute to this genocidal machine. Are genocide and exploitation this acceptable to people now? It shouldn't be, but it does sure seem that way to most Americans and everyone else across the world who's watching our nation commit this genocide with our tax dollars, mind you, the citizens' tax dollars. And our people still go about their daily lives even when we are on the verge of another disastrous world war that will have devastating consequences, and nothing is being done. No wonder everyone around the globe hates our country and thinks that we are heartless people. They are right about us, and we deserve it. Because we allow these crimes against humanity and the globe to happen, and this has been our culture ever since before the founding of this country. That is also on stolen land, just like Palestine. And people still continue to think.
Commissioner Runberg.
Move to provide the speaker 2 more minutes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tenney.
Second.
Any objection? Seeing none, the speaker has 2 more minutes.
Thank you. Ever since before the founding of this country that is on stolen land just like Palestine, and people still continue to think that it will not affect them or it won't affect them, when we know both historically and now that this is not true, and that the occupied class of people, indigenous people, immigrants, prisoners, and homeless people, and the American population in general, are being occupied, exploited, and oppressed by the same forces that the people in Palestine and across the world have faced for centuries. And just because you may not feel like it is affecting you, it is, especially when the government and these companies have all our data and private information with no protections in place. Essentially, the government has occupied our minds and our lives, and we're supposed to act as if this is normal, but it shouldn't be, and it isn't. We must reject this occupation in all its forms. What's happening right now in this present moment are the final solution being carried out in Palestine, the start of a new illegal and meaningless war, and the Gestapo raiding people's lives, which are all being live streamed right in front of our eyes, and nobody is doing anything about it, even though 53% of Americans oppose Israel, 60% of Americans do not support war with Iran, and 50% of Americans disapprove of the deportations. If this were a real democracy, then this would be stopped immediately. But of course, the government and the system continues to never respect the wishes of the people, and the people are not doing anything, mostly because their minds have been occupied by the phone and still mindlessly scroll their devices, thinking that the present is infinite, and they do not see a future.
There's no more extensions available.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anybody else like to come forward for public input? Okay, seeing no one come forward, so what we'll do is I'll have commissioners do their ranking, and then as soon as you have those done, if you bring them up to me, so we'll recess until I get everybody scoring and get them entered, and then we'll move forward. All right, so we have a clear recommendation from the body of Laura Cubitt as the to serve the remaining term of the First Ward Commissioner. So we will insert that into the we'll actually have Commissioner read that on the regular agenda item. Oh, I got to call us back. All right, I'm going to call us back to order. It's 7:53, so we can officially get back into order. So again, for those tuning in, Laura Marie Cubitt has been recommended through this body, and we do have the full scoring. I'm going to email that to the city manager after the meeting. But so I would take. Do you want to? All right.
So Commission as a whole resolution appointing Laura Cubitt as the First Ward City Commissioner, term ending December 2026. Recommendation approve.
All right, is there a motion? Commissioner Morris.
Move to approve.
There's a second. Commissioner DeWitt.
Second.
All right, discussion. Yep, Commissioner Renberg.
I just want to be the first to congratulate you. Welcome to the commission. Well, soon.
All right, any other discussion? Commissioner Coakley?
Thanks to everyone that stepped up today to apply for this or to give it a chance. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of courage to want to help and to have a passion for it. Congratulations, Laura. I think you'll do a fine job. And like I said, just thanks to everybody. And shortly, you know, if you want to try again, elections next year. So.
Anybody else? Yeah, I just want to echo those sentiments before we vote that I appreciate the number of people interested in serving. That's one of my greatest concerns, is that we don't have enough people interested in putting their name forward in these roles. It's not always an easy job, but you know, it's something worth doing for our community. So I guess we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Tenney.
Yes.
DeWitt.
Yes.
Rumberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Coakley.
Yes.
6 yes.
The motion's been approved, so congratulations, round of applause. And with that, we have no further business. We are adjourned.